What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Rome with Tyler Stafford. And Tyler, we're on YouTube now. We're making it big time. I'm sorry I look like this. Tyler, you're going to have to carry the podcast in terms of
Yeah,
look.
you're welcome. I look like this. A face made for YouTube is what no one has ever said to me.
Everyone tells me I have a voice for radio, and that's probably their subtle way of saying I have a face for nothing else. So sorry you have to look at that, but you should still subscribe. It's free. Just go right down, hit the subscribe button. It helps us. It helps get our channel out there, helps get our cachet up with YouTube, helps all that good stuff. So if you like what you hear, just hit subscribe. You'll be alerted anytime we give you a new podcast. The last time we gave you a podcast, things were a little chaotic. We talked to you about an hour after the Astros traded Kyle Tucker to the Chicago Cubs. Since then, we've heard from Dana Brown. We've heard from Cam Smith. We've heard from Hayden Wiseski. We've heard from Paredes. And today, the Chicago media heard from Kyle Tucker. I watched a little bit of it on MLB Network, and it was vintage Kyle Tucker. Not a ton of substance said, but he was charming, smiled a good bit. He got the Chicago media really excited when he said he could listen to extension offers during the season, that he'd be open to that. But unless the Cubs give him $500 million, I don't see any reason why he should take an extension. But have fun in Chicago, Kyle Tucker. It seems like, he got asked a lot today about being the face, about being the guy in a trade, because like we've talked about, Kyle Tucker has never been the guy, especially not in Houston. So it was a challenge that he said he acknowledged, he's never had to do that, but it seems like he's ready for it. And I think he'll thrive. I think, I don't think he's all of a sudden going to become this vocal guy that is rah-rah and showing a bunch of emotion. He's not going to change who he is, but I think he's ready to maybe ascend and become a little more than just a supporting piece.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing that helps him the most, I think, is that he's really good at baseball. And when he has to talk about that, it's right in his comfort zone.
He said he talked about how he was they were trying to get him to, they were asking a bunch of different questions to get stuff out of him. And again, this is a problem that we have with Kyle Tucker a lot in Houston, just asking questions to try to get something out of him. And finally he said, I just like to come and win. He was like, what's the point of getting up in the morning and doing this job if you're not trying to win? And I was like, okay, as long as Kyle just keeps saying that, he'll endear himself to the fan base. But I doubt any of you want to hear any more about Kyle Tucker because he is no longer an Astro. However, we can talk about the three guys that are currently Astros, the three guys that they got back for Kyle Tucker. We're going to do that today. We're going to talk about Cam Smith, we're going to talk about Paredes, and we're going to talk about Hayden Wieseski. And in journalism, they always tell you do not bury the lead. So we won't bury the lead here. Cam Smith is the centerpiece of this trade. Had a chance to talk to him on Monday for a story that I wrote in The Athletic, and I've never met Cam Smith. The 20-minute phone call I had was the first interaction I've ever had with him. Very polished kid, very polite, seemed very professional. Is, however, confident. He did say, I asked him, what player he tries to emulate his game after, and he said he likens himself to A-Rod, but he did say, not the numbers, not A-Rod's numbers. But Cam Smith's 6'4", about 220, and plays the left side of the infield. There's very few comps for 6'4", 220 guys that play left side of the infield. So I guess A-Rod was an all right one.
We can at least get him the same number of Houston area car dealerships, I would imagine. So we can at least help him meet that number.
Oh, I think look, if he comes on this podcast too, imagine that. Imagine the street credit.
Get him a couple of car dealerships. That's easy. How hard can it be?
We would get him so much, so many car dealerships. But he probably has to get to the big leagues first before that becomes a thing. And I don't think that's going to be in 2025. But as I wrote about in The Athletic this morning, Dana Brown thinks this is an impact bat. I think Cam Smith's bat is going to be what really, really propels him through this system. He got up to Double-A very briefly last year, his first year in pro ball. His offensive profile is everything the Astros want. Like, doesn't strike out, puts the ball in play, has a high on base percentage. He talked to me yesterday about he really has gotten to one approach, and that's low line drives over the second baseman's head. And he's settled into that approach, and it's working out well for him. So, Tyler, this is going to be a guy that As long as his bat plays, they'll find a position for him. We'll talk about his defense a little bit later, but for right now, this is undoubtedly the best bat in the Astros farm system.
Yeah, the bat is, I mean, plus raw power. It's not there in the game yet. I mean, he can hit some, moonshots, but the amount of raw power that he has, like you said, he's huge. And I mean, he can hit the cover off the ball. I was reading about him, and his first season at Florida State didn't go necessarily the way that he wanted. He went to the Cape Cod, wood bat league and really made some launch angle adjustments. And, he was outrageously good for a Florida State team that made it to the College World Series last year. And then in just a few games in the minor leagues last year, he hit a home run in 6 straight games, which is a pretty good track record. So if he can just keep that pace up, I think the Astros will definitely be happy with him. And the thing I was most excited about is he went to the same high school as Astros legend Brad Peacock, staff ace Brad Peacock. You weren't around for the 2017 year, but I will fight anyone that was not ironic. Brad Peacock was the ace of that team. He was unbelievable. So that's my own personal connection to Cam Smith.
A trivia question that will go down in Astros lore is who started the Jose Altuve walk-off home run game-winning pennant game? Who started Game 6 of the 2019 ALCS against the Yankees?
Brad Peacock.
Brad Peacock.
Absolutely. I was at Game 4 2017. I was so excited. He came in for or Game 3. Came in for McCullers and was great.
He's also maybe the only baseball player I've ever covered that had to go on the DL with hand, foot, and mouth disease.
Oh gosh. Oh, I've got 2 little ones, and I'm terrified of that at all times.
But him and Cam Smith, both Palm Beach guys. One thing Cam Smith said that is
hand, foot, and palm guys.
Hand, foot, and palm. One thing Cam Smith said, you mentioned his stint in the Cape Cod League. He really got his approach down there. And another thing he started doing in the Cape Cod League was he started meditating. And he credits meditating to really what's helped him turn, not that he needed to turn his career around. He was a fine ball player before that, but it's really helped him slow the game down, really not speed the game up as much as he used to. And, he now before every game, he puts Bob Marley and the Wailers on on his AirPods, sits down, 10 breaths in, 10 breaths out, and he's ready to go. And he says he even does that during games, not with Bob Marley. I don't think he can wear headphones on the field, but he'll find time between pitches. He'll find a way to get his breathing down. So he seems like a really mature kid, and a guy that knows himself, knows what makes himself tick. And at 21 years old, that's not always a guarantee.
Yeah, everything I've read about him is 80 grade makeup, it has the work ethic to be there, and is also, built to kind of be that star. Like we talked about, somebody who understands how to talk and understands how to think. And I'm very excited to see him. I think certainly the arm will play anywhere. Even reading things from him in like high school or Florida State is everybody's like, I don't know if third base is going to be there forever. I hope so. That'd be great. But the arm is going to play anywhere.
Yeah. And, I talked to 2 talent evaluators that work for other teams and gave them anonymity in exchange for their candor. But both of them said, and I wrote it in the story this morning, that they question whether third base is his long-term home. One of them did say, you mentioned the makeup. He's one of these guys that they're never going to take anything off the table because they think that he'll just kind of work himself into being good. But he acknowledged, that he's had to work a lot on his footwork. And at Florida State, he was really just kind of an athlete, just let his athleticism kind of dominate at third base. But Dana Brown has already said that they're going to play Smith at third base, at first base, and it would be a fitting final home for him, right field. given who he was traded for. So they can worry about the defense later. Like we talked a lot when other guys were drafted. Like there was the whole debate of, oh, where's Bregman going to play? Because they drafted him as a shortstop and they had Correa on the big league team. They figured that out. If he's good enough and his bat plays, they will find a position for him.
Yeah.
So, you look at Cam Smith, that is the centerpiece. He is the guy that in 5 or 6 years we're going to look at this trade and we'll be able to judge it on how he did. On how the Astros did with this trade will be judged on how Cam Smith performs. In the more immediate term, though, this team's going to have both Isaac Paredes and Hayden Wieseski play pretty crucial roles. And there's a little confusion now, I guess, where Isaac Paredes is going to play. He's going to play for the 2025 Astros, but as I reported this week, the Astros are pretty seriously engaged with the Cardinals about a trade for Nolan Arenado. And if the Astros do get Nolan Arenado, he's a 10-time Gold Glover at third base, one of the best third basemen of this generation or any generation. He's not playing anywhere else. They're going to put him at third base, and Isaac Paredes would move to first. But again, kind of like with Cam Smith, defense, we're not really talking defense here. This is a guy that is going to come to Dyken Park. Excuse me. There's a guy. He's going to come to Dyken Park with a swing that is just tailor-made for the Crawford boxes.
Is there a right-handed hitter whose swing is not tailor-made for the Crawford boxes?
I mean, Chas McCormick hits everything.
Okay.
Chas McCormick hits everything the other way. So
Jason Castro was tailor-made for the Crawford boxes. I feel like that. I mean, every time any right-handed hitter, it's like, oh, watch out, it's going to be here. I would like that to be true. I would like someone to have 30 home runs and then, go to Yankee Stadium as a lefty and hit 85 home runs because they just kept hitting it into the second row. That'd be awesome.
I do hate to bring this up, but that was a talking point when the Astros signed Jose Abreu, was that the Crawford boxes were great. They were great for his swing. The power had diminished, but don't worry. He's got the Crawford boxes now. He can just go with the short porch. And that
it's not like you can purposefully hit a 320-foot like pop-up. It's just every once in a while you get one of those like Puig home runs in the World Series where it just accidentally goes out, or even Correa's the inning before. But I mean, it's not, if you hit a home run, you're hitting it 380 feet. It doesn't matter where, for the most part.
Alex Bregman made the Crawford box look pretty easy. And look at Isaac Paredes's savant page. You look at the pull numbers. There's only 2 major league hitters last year that pulled the ball more than Isaac Paredes. It was Jose Altuve and Rhys Hoskins. So he'll pull the ball in the air a little bit more than Jose Altuve did. Jose Altuve hits his fair share of Crawford box specials, but very few of his homers are wall scrapers. When he pulls one and gets a hold of it, it goes a long way. Isaac Paredes, you just kind of look, and I know we say it every time they get a right-handed hitter in here, but this swing, there's going to be a real problem if he can't come in here and increase the power production. But if he doesn't, he still has a lot of the attributes that the Astros look for in their offensive players. His walk rate is above league average. His strikeout rate, chase rate, and swing rate are all below league average. And those, Dana Brown has talked this winter about how the Astros wanted to get away from a lot of the things they did last year. This was a team that swung too much. They chased too much. They were very easy to pitch to. And I don't think they want that to be a thing next year. Losing Kyle Tucker and possibly losing Alex Bregman makes that far more difficult. But Isaac Paredes, Tyler, you look at all the other stuff and it has to get you excited.
Yeah, he's in the 93rd percentile in walk percentage, 88th percentile in whiff percentage. Like, he's just a guy that professional hitter, right? Like shades of Michael Brantley over here, where it's just a guy that every at bat you watch, he's on. There are very few at bats that you watch of his where he's just flailing or he looks overmatched. He's a really, really good hitter with a great knowledge of the strike zone. And like you said, if the Astros don't bring Bregman back, a man who might know the strike zone better than anybody, I always feel like if an umpire, gets a look back from Bregman, I would just change the call. I would just trust whatever. He's not going to lie. I believe you. And Paredes is very similar. He's a really, really disciplined, good hitter.
You know, a lot of people are going to look at his 2 months in Chicago last year, and you know that's the last image we have of him. And there's no getting around it. He was not good in Chicago. He was not good for those 2 months. Was great with the Rays before that. Had a career year in 2023, but everyone's lasting image is him not playing well. And
Well, a lot of that is the pizza. I mean, it's going to weigh you down. It's not good, you know. So
I
I think,
disagree.
oh,
I disagree. I love deep dish.
you're drinking a bowl of meat soup. That's all it is. It's disgusting.
We're gonna have to continue this off air. This is a travesty. I
I'm
can't believe
right. People will agree with me. You are in the wrong here.
Oh no, and I will say I don't like the ones that do. I don't like the ones that have the sauce on top. Like I need like a traditional pizza, but I like
The
it
one
deep
that's
dish.
8 inches.
Yes, I
Disgusting.
like texture. I like substance. Like you know, you eat a New York slice and it's like you eat it and you're like, what? Like you're not full. You got to go get 4 or 5 more. Like
Yeah.
I 2 deep dish slices and I'm good to go.
Sorry, I have friends, so when I go out, I'd like to share a pizza. Maybe you're sitting alone with your sad little doggy bowl full of pizza goop. But the rest of us are having fun with our friends, Chandler.
I'm a baseball writer who travels 100 nights a year. I have no friends. I sit alone at bars a lot and eat. So yes, you're probably on to something that because like I eat alone a lot, I have a lot of deep dish tendencies in my life. But yeah, maybe it was the pizza. Maybe it was the fact that he had to uproot his life at no notice and go to Chicago where the conditions are notoriously bad. Wrigley Field is not a great place to hit. Scott Boras made that very clear all winter when talking about Cody Bellinger. So I would kind of give him a pass there. Everything else kind of stayed the same. You know, you looked at some of the underlying metrics. There was an increase in some stuff that was not great, but you wonder too how much of that was a guy putting pressure on himself. He knew he was a big deadline acquisition, and that's a real thing. Like these are human beings we're talking about. Like it's really hard to be in Tampa one day, get a call and say, "Hey, you're going to Chicago. Go with all these." Go meet this clubhouse full of guys that a lot of them you don't know. And oh, yeah, go hit third in the middle of this lineup of an underperforming team with a really angry fan base. Like, that's a tough thing to do. And I can't blame Isaac Paredes for having a rough 2 months in Chicago. I don't think that should be held against him.
Yeah. I mean, Bregman's bad for 2 months a year and nobody cares about that. So it's fine. We'll see once it gets going next year.
I guess we'll see if other teams care that Bregman's bad 2 months every year. But at least he does it at the beginning. At least he doesn't do it.
Yeah, no one watches those. Astros used to give away those like month-long passes. Well, I guess you didn't have to deal with it, but when they were really bad, it was like $70, and for all of the April and May home games, you would get your ticket like an hour before the game, and it would just be like whatever the best tickets left were. So I sat like first row up the first baseline in 2014 or something because no one was watching an April Astros game. So Bregman's fine. It's okay.
They had to really try to get people to come out to watch Matt Dominguez and
buddy, was I there. I bought a Honda key on eBay so I could get into the Honda club level. You had to show a key to get in, and that's where all the good food was. Yeah. if you had a Honda key, you could get into the club level. And I did not have a Honda, but I bought a spare key on eBay so I could go into the club.
Was this a season-long promotion or was this like a one game?
No. I'm sure you could do it now. What is it, Mazda or Honda? I don't know.
There is zero chance you can do that now.
Okay,
Zero.
well, it used to be literally if you just showed them the key of whatever car it was sponsoring it that year, you could just walk in. You weren't supposed to sit, but I mean, there were whole sections that were empty, so it didn't matter.
How much did you pay for that Honda key on eBay?
Like $17.
That's worth it, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, agreed. I was a very smart high schooler. This is what I was doing in high school, by the way, was eBaying spare Honda keys so I could go watch Matt Dominguez, Robbie Grossman, Carlos Pena. Yeah, it was tons of fun.
So was there an open bar?
I was 17, maybe.
I mean, I'm from
And
Louisiana. When
the
you're
son of a pastor, so that did not cross my mind much to go find the open bar.
I'm from Louisiana. When you're 12, you start looking for an open bar. So excuse me for not being read up on Texas rearing and how that's supposed to happen. Someone that does know how Texas raises people is Hayden Wieseski. Man, that was a
Incredible.
fantastic
I'm so proud of
transition.
you. We need to stop.
I need to end it right now. That was incredible. Anyway, so Hayden Wieseski is going to pitch for this team at some point next year. You know, looking at his Savant page and looking at a lot of the stuff, like I'm intrigued by this, and maybe I'm just a nerd that is like looking at this and it's like, oh,
It can
like
be both.
It's probably both. You look at it and he's got a 106 ERA plus for his major league career. Now, granted, he's thrown 190 big league innings. This is not some massive sample size, but he's got a 106 ERA plus. That's 6 points above league average. He's got a career 1.16 whip. Last season, only 27 qualified major league starters had a lower one. So the counting stats are okay. And then you start to look kind of at some underlying stuff and some of the stuff that the Astros like. He gets 7 feet of extension on his delivery. That's the same amount as Yusei Kikuchi got. And I'm not trying to sit here and say Yusei Kikuchi, they're going to do to Yusei Kikuchi, the Hayden Wieseski, what they did to Yusei Kikuchi. I'm just saying, like, the Astros like guys that get above league average extension. He does. His sweeper has been one of the better sweepers in baseball at points. Last year, I think it had a run value of 9, according to Baseball Savant. That's a really good pitch. He can get it up to 97. He doesn't walk guys.
The sweeper 97?
Oh, he can get the fastball up to 97, not the sweeper. Doesn't walk guys, walks like 2 guys per 9, strikes out almost 9 per inning, or 9 per 9 innings, excuse me. That'd be another feat. If he can strike
you were
out.
talking him up. 97-mile-an-hour sweeper and striking out 9 guys an inning.
The one thing that just glares, he's given up 35 home runs in his big league career. And of those 35 home runs, he's given up 96 runs as a major leaguer. 50 of them have come off home runs. So I have very, very good teaching advice for Josh Miller and Bill Murphy. They should tell Hayden Wieseski to stop giving up home runs.
Mm-hmm. My guess, looking at his pitch percentage, the sweeper is good. I mean, he had a 43% whiff rate on it last year, and he threw it 40% of the time. That's going to play, and I would bet that he throws it even more. He threw his 4-seamer almost as much. He threw it 36% of the time last year, and of those home runs that you said in the last 2 years, he's given up 13. He's given up 14. Whew, that was rough. 14 of those home runs have come off that 4-seamer. Last year, he threw it 36%. What would you put the over-under as by the end of year 1 with the Astros? How often is he throwing that 4-seamer?
I mean, it's a tough question because, like, as a pitcher, you can't just abandon your fastball. And
sure you can. He's got a sinker and a cutter. Throw those instead. What do you put his over-under at?
I'd probably put it at about 30, and I
would have taken under 15.
Really?
He's not throwing that pitch for the Astros.
Well, because we had this same thought with Kikuchi when Kikuchi came over. They were like, oh, like because you had heard at the beginning was, oh, throw the changeup more, ditch the curveball, throw another variation of the slider. And originally you had heard that they had told him, let the fastball, just throw it, but don't throw it near as much. And by the end, like, they told him to elevate it a little bit. And the way he was throwing his slider really helped the fastball and the changeup. So I wonder if they're going to work with some of his other pitches. Does the changeup usage increase? Because we saw that last year. I mean, they increased everyone's changeup usage last year on staff, and it really worked out well. Traditionally, this is not a team that is huge with sinkers, but last year Hunter Brown started throwing a sinker and became the best pitcher in baseball for 5 months. So every pitcher's different. I couldn't tell. I've never seen Hayden Wieseski pitch in person, and if I have, I certainly don't remember it. So I can't tell you like specifically what they're going to do, but Tyler, you look at the underlying stuff and you look at and you start to convince yourself like, man, like if he gets a full spring training with the Astros, if they really know what they see in him and can get it down, like this could be a valuable like back end of the rotation guy. Or to make this all circle back, is he the next Brad Peacock?
He wishes. You want to see what's in my backpack at all times?
Oh man,
This is true.
this is why we got on. This is why we got on YouTube.
This is why we're on YouTube. No, so a couple of years ago, I hiked a 14er in Colorado, Mount Yale, and I took this bad boy in my my backpack with me. It stays on me, baby. Staff ace Brad Peacock at all times. It's in my backpack. There you go.
I'll never compare anyone to Brad Peacock again.
Please don't.
Okay.
He's uncomparable.
But
That sweeper is good, man. You should see some of his highlights on YouTube where we are right now. That's funny that they let us be on the same internet as like baseball highlights.
Bill Gates,
you should stop watching this and go watch that instead. The sweeper is really good. The four-seamer is bad. He's not throwing that for the Astros. There's no way that he throws that for the Astros. They're going to do the McCullers thing where it's just you throw the sweeper that goes crazy to the left-handed side of the batter's box, and you throw the sinker that cuts in on the right-handed side and just make them guess and see what happens.
Old people call that the McCullers. The youth of today call that the Hunter Brown, because that's exactly what they do with Hunter Brown.
Well, McCullers had the more horizontal sweepery one. Look,
I do wonder too. You know, you look at a little bit of Wesneski's like heat maps. He doesn't elevate the fastball at all. I don't know if he doesn't know how. I'm sure he knows how, but I don't know if that was something that the Cubs
could ask him that.
That'll be how I lead off.
Hey, has anyone ever told you to throw your fastball higher?
I wonder if they look. This is what spring training's for too. So we're going to get to spring training, and please don't lose your mind if Hayden Wieseski gets lit up his first couple spring training outings, because they're going to be trying a lot of different things with him. Like they may tell him going into one outing, hey, elevate the fastball. And they may say the next outing, all right, don't throw the fastball at all. And so like, that's why you never put too much into spring training outings. But I think spring training will be pretty crucial for Hayden Wieseski, just to see, you know, they've already said they want to give him a chance in the rotation. And if you made me guess today, I'd probably say he opens the season in the Astros rotation, because listening to Dana Brown, listening to Dana Brown at the winter meetings, it doesn't sound like Luis Garcia will be ready for opening day. They say maybe a little bit after opening day. I'm going to stop guessing on Lance McCullers Jr. at this point. And then, you know, obviously Christian Javier is a long way off. So you kind of start to look, and by process of elimination, they got to put somebody in there. And I'd be surprised, honestly, if Hayden Wieseski does not open this season in the Astros rotation.
Oh, you're right. This is Brad Peacock, man. He was like the fourth starter for that 2017 team, but he was the only one that pitched every game. He ruled, man. I loved watching him pitch so much. And he had the same thing. He had the just sweeper sinker thing. You're right. This is it. We're coming back.
Do you want another trivia question that no one ever wants to hear?
Okay.
Who led the 2017 Astros in innings pitched?
You think that I don't know this? How dare you? Of course I know this. That's why I said it the whole year. If you search my Twitter, I bet I have 85 tweets that say staff ace Brad Peacock in them from that year.
Wait, you don't know who led the 2017 Astros in innings pitched, do you?
Was it not Peacock? I know it wasn't Keuchel because he was hurt most of the year. Oh, it was Fires.
It was Mike Fires.
Yeah, it was Fires and Peacock. They held it down the whole year. I was at his no-hitter.
I was too. I was covering the Dodgers. I was an MLB.com intern. I was an MLB.com intern covering the Dodgers on the day that Fires no-hit them. I'll never forget, the Dodgers had just signed Chase Utley, and it was Chase Utley's first game with the Dodgers. And I remember having to do all that before the game. Like I'm like some 21-year-old that doesn't know what I'm doing. And like I'm trying to run into Chase Utley's scrum. And he looks like he's 65, but they're somehow running him out there to play the middle infield.
He did look that old that whole time. That's not your fault.
And then the Dodgers had Kershaw and Greinke lined up the next 2 days to pitch. And like the Astros, they were like dying. They were in a tough playoff battle. They were in a tough division battle. And everyone was like, oh, this is when it's going to end. Like Kershaw, this was prime Kershaw, prime Greinke. And then they had to throw Fires in the first game. And everybody's like, oh, this is not going to go well. And then Mike Fires goes out there and throws a no-hitter. Baseball.
His most impactful thing that he ever did for the Astros.
Right? On the field, sure. We're going to stop talking now because a lot of you are probably throwing things against your wall. If you've tuned in this long, we appreciate it. We promise there will be less Mike Fires talk in the ensuing podcast. We hope you enjoyed
that.
We hope you enjoyed the talk of Kyle Tucker's the fruits that Kyle Tucker brought to the Astros and Cam Smith, Isaac Paredes, and Hayden Wieseski. We're still trying to figure out kind of how they'll fit into the 2025, 2026 Astros, but we'll be there. We'll be watching along and seeing how they ingratiate themselves and kind of where this thing goes from here. So keep it with Crush City territory this whole season, twice a week in the offseason, 3 times a week when the season rolls around. We'll be talking about this and everything else. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Bye.